Welcome to another episode of A Blissfully Balanced Life. Today's episode is sponsored by Art House Hotel New York City, which boasts 291 guest rooms, 3 on-site restaurants, and nightly live entertainment in Manhattan's Upper West Side. Book your next stay at www.arthousehotelnyc.com or call in for group rates and events. So I am really excited because today we have Donna with us, and I'm just going to have her introduce herself.
Sure, happy to. Thank you for having me. I'm Donna Ognibene, and key question today is how do you say that last name? It's Ognibene, and it means all good, so it's a fun last name for me. I'm a fitness professional. I call myself a movement specialist. I own a studio called Body Trio, and I'm getting ready to launch my new training system called Triogo. I live in the Boston area with 3 daughters and a husband, 2 dogs. I'm happy to be here in New York City with all of you and just sharing more about what I do.
Amazing. I'm so happy that you're here and I get a chance to talk with you. Oh my goodness. So I saw that you had a really crazy story with your studio.
Yes, lots of crazy stories. That was one of the more recent. So in 2018, there was a fire underneath my studio. There was a nail salon. It had nothing to do with my business, but there was a fire which came up the walls. And what seemed like it was going to be a matter of weeks turned into pretty much it was totally destroyed and could have been rebuilt. But by the time I started going off-site, I started gaining traction in doing more off-site things now that people were wondering where I was and what was happening. So was a difficult period of time to teach in a few different spaces. It was good learning ground and probably a good time to pivot in general, just as far as where things were taking me.
Mm-hmm. So did you end up getting another new studio space, or did you go with a different direction?
Slightly different direction. So I was teaching for, about 9 months, very close by at a health club and also at another space. And at the same time, I had to rescue my equipment from the rubble because it was getting destroyed. I mean, it was under things, and I never thought that I would be able to use it again. But I kind of stubbornly went in and just pulled it all out of there, and then I needed a place to put it into, so I moved it into my basement, which became a studio and sort of a makeshift, temporary spot to train private clients because people were, hey, why don't you come to my house? Or, hey, I'll meet you at a field. And I started seeing that it was going to be really challenging to keep up with it all. So right now I have a few different places, but I'm still not entirely sure if I will set up a space on its own under myself, or if I'll share a space with others. I'm still letting it all kind of play out.
I love that, just kind of going with the flow, but I love the fact that even though this happened, it didn't stop you, No,
not the first time I've had to redirect. This was a tough one because things were starting to really pick up, and given sort of some of the other things that have happened in my life, I was becoming known to be someone that could handle complex physical issues, pain issues, even just training issues where there was a very specific need in a sport, and because of my own injuries, I was able to help. And so, I have found sort of a mantra in that things just keep changing. And so if you keep trying to patch up something that's broken or, completely rebrand, it's a little bit of a shock. So what I found that's helpful is to just try the next thing. And if that doesn't work, try the next thing. But you've got to know there is the next thing, and you've got to just keep going.
Right. So you mentioned injuries.
Mm-hmm.
What were some of your injuries, if you don't mind me asking?
Not at all. Beginning with, I was a gymnast, a hardcore gymnast, and it was my senior year, so I had spent what at that time seemed like my entire life doing gymnastics, 6 days a week, and I was practicing a handstand on the high bar, and you have to pivot out and land in this big mat when you're learning it, and my big mat had a slit down the middle.
Oh no.
So coming from pretty high and landing with one foot down in one foot. I shattered my ankle, and that was the first real life lesson, because I was in high school. That, what do I do? Do I just become a part of this team in a different way? And it seems so long ago, but I remember being really clear that I was just going to keep moving. And so I started working really hard on bars, and what was not my best of the four, bars became a really strong part of my program. So that was the first time I learned that there could be a positive direction to injury. After that, there were a few more. I'd say the next big one was a pretty massive concussion. My car was the third car into a mild fender bender, but my airbag went off and broke on my face. So it was pretty big brain injury, and at that point nobody was talking about it. There weren't any concussion protocols. There weren't people talking about it so that you knew some of the symptoms. And the hard part of it was being, whereas the gymnastics injury was very clear, it was a broken ankle. This was a mystery, and I thought I had everything from chronic fatigue to Epstein-Barr, to a couple of other things that fall into that we're just not sure category. And super memorable medical practitioner looked at me one day and said, if you ever buy into that diagnosis of chronic fatigue, your life is over.
Yeah.
And that was another pivotal moment where I started to learn about energy, and I started to stop thinking about pain and embarrassment and sort of losing your identity and not being able to work. And I had 3 young kids at the time, and I think a great gift in that was, you can't just, I thought I could just create energy by moving. I would just go harder, or I would do something instead of gymnastics. But this was in a class of its own, but it really shaped how I was going to create Body Trio and now Trio Go, because Body Trio was this understanding that we are 3-dimensional human beings, body, mind, and spirit, which now people just roll it off their tongue, but back in 2008, I'm proud to say it wasn't being talked about, but it was this revelation that it should be a movement experience, and it should include, not just the physical, where everybody would just hammer you, and if they kicked your butt well enough, that was a good workout. And so I am sometimes a little overwhelmed by the amount of setbacks I've had, but I can honestly say it's almost like someone set a path for me and said, these are the really important life lessons. Fortunately, this is the form they're going to come to you in. And so that's where...
It sounds like it really helped you guys transition into what you do now, right? Like, not you guys. It sounds like it really helped you transition into all of this, and because of your injuries, I feel like you're more empathetic, or able to really understand somebody if they have an injury.
Absolutely. Maybe sometimes too much. I feel so tuned in to how that person is doing, how that person is feeling, what they need. And it's certainly a great thing to be able to sense all that and be able to steer all that. But sometimes you have to learn tools to, I think just manage. If you're going to have every day with so much that you internalize, you have to find strategies, your own practice of movement and exercise and diet and all that to stay resilient, stay strong.
So what are some of your ways of doing that to stay resilient and strong, and maybe even take us through what your day is like?
Sure. So my day is, I would say, probably 85% work-related. Training private clients. I train the Harvard Swim and Dive team.
Awesome.
Which is really close by, and I love those women. And the other part of the day consists of creativity, so creating my new website, creating content for that website, connecting with other people. And there's a small piece, but a really important piece of being really consistent with, I start each morning with a green drink, either celery juice, or I'd love to hear if you have other ideas for greens, because those are my absolute favorite. And I drink athletic greens. I don't know if you know that particular brand.
Greens, no.
But that's the first thing, along with, I love the ritual of a hot cup of coffee, and breakfast, pretty basic. Lunch, usually a little bit more of a meal, and try to sit down and be slow. And, dinner is usually late at night. People in my house are coming in late. So it's pretty simple, but I would say just never taking for granted that you've got to move every day. So if it's not a formal workout, I don't feel like I have to go for a 7-mile run anymore. I used to.
Every day?
Definitely. Oh yeah. I used to get up even when I had young kids, before they woke up at insane hours. And it was more of just, I don't know how to explain it, but it wasn't as healthy of a habit as it is now. Now it's more longevity and wanting to have the kind of energy to do what I do. Then it was more fitness-based and wanting to keep my body a certain way and challenge myself a certain way. So I appreciate being more mindful because of sort of the life I've led.
Yes. Okay, so there's like 2 things I really want to ask you about, and I'm going to get opportunity to. So remember celery juice. But how does it help you feel emotionally, like with fitness and moving? Because that urge to run every day, right? Like that there's something kind of in that. It gives you something.
Sure. Well, I've had life without it quite a bit, and I've had life with it. So I think you have to understand yourself. And I'm a very passionate person, and I'm also someone who does internalize. So to feel stable, I think my favorite word is grounded. If I eat the wrong things, if I have just a little bit too much caffeine, if I'm in my head and not in my body enough, I don't feel tethered, and I don't interrelate, as well as I could. So there's such an incentive there for me, especially at this point in my life. The busier you get, and as the stakes get higher, you need to take care of yourself in a whole different way. So, it's sort of a non-negotiable. And yesterday I was one of the only people in the hotel gym, and I was thinking, I'm in New York City, and as I walk through the streets, there's an intensity here. And
oh my goodness.
On a day like today, where you and I have had a similar day, I was thinking, for many people, this is their every day. They are completely on, whereas I'm very busy and I work really hard. But there's moments here and there where I'm not being creative. I'm not, interacting. I'm not making high-level decisions. So I don't know what people do without movement. I always say the people I feel the sorriest for are bus drivers, truck drivers.
Right.
These people that are sitting and they're, holding these big wheels, all the bumps in the road. I don't know how nutrition goes. I feel very grateful to have access to such great nutrition as well.
Yeah, I agree. It's a really good thought. I'm like sitting here thinking about it because I take the bus into New York all the time. And it's just like, how could they get more movement? You just had me thinking about that. Like, what could they do?
Yeah. I've gone into nail salons, and they say, we don't have any time to exercise. And I said, reach across your table, pull your back way back, twist to the side. I give them a whole routine. All you need is a seat. I've gone into business meetings, and when I'm asked to introduce myself, just ask everybody if they'd stand up for a moment and have their hands on the back of their chair. And again, grounding. Once we know there's a safe place to start, and you're doing simple natural movement, and that really is the key to my training system. Triogo is I've taught absolutely everything from step to high-low impact to spin to kickboxing to the stability ball class to Pilates and yoga. And the more I specialize, the more I realize how simple postures are. I mean, nobody taught the ancient yogis a list of exercises. They intuitively knew that they felt better when they moved in a certain way. And so the list is the same for all of us movement practitioners, but I think the job is to move people in meaningful ways, to connect movements with meaningful transitions so that you feel like you're doing things that matter for your lifestyle. And if you have a sport, it's really critical to think about how that body very specifically moves, and not give the same program to different types of teams and athletes.
Right. You're such an expert. I love it. I love how individual you are,
fun.
And because what you're talking about really, I can see how much you care You know what I mean? Like, and it's evident that like you care and you know what you're doing, you know what you're talking about, and you understand that it's beyond just what somebody might be making it, right? Like it's deeper, there's more to this. And I feel like that's one of the things that makes your brand so unique.
The main word is beyond. So I'm calling it an upgrade or moving beyond. And I think that's what I've learned through, I think the important reason to share injuries, setbacks, is to help people know what comes out of that. There should always something should always come out of that. And at the time, you never think beyond. You think, what I look like now. Or my father-in-law just had open heart surgery. And he's a man who, I gave him a program, which he followed his own program, and everything I gave him 1 hour every morning at the same time, and still went to Gold's Gym in his late 70s, still did 20 pull-ups. And I'm so, when I look at him, he knows where I've been, and there's so much I want to share with him, but I'm also so aware he's just not there yet. Mm-hmm. And for all of us, it's just, we kind of have to start where we are. And just inch towards some possibilities. So beyond is like absolutely one of my favorite words.
Yes. So what is your favorite type of exercise to do for yourself? And then what's your favorite exercise to work with clients?
Ooh, I mean, I probably would say if I had a huge trampoline, that would be my thing. I've even gotten hurt on a trampoline. I decided to leave when the big guys in the neighborhood were coming in so much bigger than me, thinking, I'm going to get bounced. So I start walking out, and just them coming in was enough to have me sprain my ankle. It's just funny. But I love to be in the air. I love a diving board, so I'd say as far as something informal that I just love to do, I love to flip.
Okay.
Beyond that, running is definitely my go-to. Okay. But if you've had a lot of pain issues, there's a lot you need to do to be able to run and sustain it and enjoy it. So Triogo is a way to do all of the basics, all of the have-tos, and so I can put together just a few moves. I usually put them in categories of grounding, centering, lifting, expanding, reaching. So that could be, a swan dive up in yoga, or that could be something in Pilates where you are working your core. But so I kind of look to actions, and I look to threes. So I think it's really easy when my clients ask for something to do at home and I'm not sure how to make it really doable for them. I usually give them 3 things. Okay. Leg-based, upper body-based, core-based, and using props is usually really helpful.
Awesome.
That was a big answer. I'm sorry.
No, that was amazing. No, I love it. Yeah, no, it was very helpful. And I mean, the fact that you give them 3 things to do and using props. Like, you can do stuff at home. Right.
Yeah.
You can use a gallon of water.
Absolutely.
Some cans.
You just have to do something. I think the easiest thing to do is to get up. I tell some people when you're working at home, every single time you get up, because you're going to use the bathroom, you're going to go make a cup of tea, you're going to distract yourself, 20 push-ups every time you get up. And you are going to come back and say, oh my gosh, I'm doing 100 push-ups a day. That's awesome. That's 5 minutes probably of your day. Right. When you think about it. So it's action. It's all about action.
And why push-ups in particular?
Because I think you're more likely to just do something standing. I teach them to do it at the wall for people that aren't ready yet.
Right.
And then to just get on the ground in a simple position. You don't have to organize it in any way. So it's just the easiest go-to. I think you can daydream in a squat. You can daydream in a lunge. You're facing the wall or the floor, and you have a number that you have to do. I think it's really doable. I play with things all the time. That's just been my new, and it usually comes from a place where I need to do something a little bit more. And with a couple of shoulder surgeries, I started, backing off of upper body stuff because it hurt my neck. And then when you can, you got to get back to it and do the stuff that is where you almost can't push another one up safely. It's a good place to go.
That's awesome. I love it. Okay, wait, so you talked about celery juice. So are you an Anthony Williams?
Yes.
Okay. So, we can talk. I haven't yet talked about celery juice on my podcast. So what has been your experience with it?
I really feel a difference. It could be mental, and it doesn't even matter to me. It's the ritual of making something vegetable-based and I drink it right away so that it's warm. I'm just a big fan of the color green. It just means so many good things to me. So even looking at that color makes me feel like my eyes are going to be brighter and my skin is going to glow. True story though, after I got through all the other stuff, I had a basal cell carcinoma on my nose. So I had my nose cut open in a big Z fashion just 2 months ago.
Oh my goodness.
Hold
on. So your skin looks flawless.
Thank you.
By the way, and I would have never known that you had your nose cut up.
I was pretty alarmed because, I've had the body, I've had the brain, now have my face be something that I have to explain. I'm usually not one to put it out there, but I did put pictures out there because I was so surprised by how much there was there, how obvious it was, and then I was in awe that 33 days later, I could cover it up if I had to. And
wow.
And beyond the sort of, we want to feel good, the pride, all that stuff, it made me feel again like these little choices of what you do every day. If it's something for your skin, if it's something for your body, if it's something for your brain, you're on the right track, right? And what could be bad about a piece of celery or a bunch of celery? It's not like you're taking a risk on something that is the new. I still eat a ton of kale. I love dark leafy greens. And again, it's very mental. I feel like I'm taking care of my skin and taking care of my organs.
Yes. So just to clarify for any listeners who has never heard of Anthony Williams or celery juice, how long ago did you start?
So I don't know a whole lot about him.
Okay.
And it was one of my clients who was like, I follow a lot of people on Instagram that are being really, great about everywhere they go, they show you they're making it, they're taking it, they're traveling with it. And shout out to Movin' M, Move with Mel and Mooch. And, one of my clients just said, well, do you know Anthony? And I just picked up the book on Amazon and I really wanted to just know, well, what is it behind it and the sodium clusters.
Yes.
So I have a real basic knowledge of it. But we do have Alzheimer's in my family.
Mm-hmm.
I have had 2 major concussions. And, I know quite a few people that have had different types of cancers, and I watch the way they just don't take their food for granted. So it's just that one thing I think that I do, in addition to eating lots of greens, lots of fruits and vegetables. I just don't like meat anyway. But it does make me feel a little cleaner, a little greener. I know that sounds
No, and so when did you
silly.
start?
Maybe a year and a half ago.
Okay, cool. So I started July 2018, I think. So is that a year and a half ago as well? Maybe I think we started around the same time.
Yeah.
I don't know what year it is. What day is it? So any of you guys, to get back to the whole point, what it is you start your morning off with 16 ounces of pure celery juice. Or if you can't start off in the morning, you have it or like on an empty stomach, so like 2 hours after. So we're actually running out of time on this episode, so we'll have to come back and talk all about celery juice another day. But yeah, it's helped my health too in a really crazy way.
Even if it's water, even if it's
lemon water in the morning.
Lemon water, I know. My youngest daughter is just the queen of walking around with lemon water and turmeric tea, and she makes it for anyone else who's around.
That's awesome.
I think all of us as a family have rubbed off on each other as far as what we're doing nutritionally and workout wise.
That's so inspiring. So if anyone's looking to stay connected with you, where can they find you?
Well, my Triogo.com is launching tonight.
Hey, so exciting!
Please check it out. It
Yeah.
has been a labor of love. My business advisor, mentor, amazing friend, Bob Wiersma, has stuck with me it's been a couple of years of creating the content and the messaging. I think it's a beautiful site. Just there's an aesthetic to it that I was going for that I haven't seen, that I hope will help people just feel even a little more empowered about exercise and nutrition and just programming. And I'm on Instagram, again, Triogo3 instead of just Triogo. Triogo3 is my Instagram name, and my email is info@bodytrio.com, which will be moving over to Triogo.com.
Awesome. So I'm going to put all those links in the description.
Thank you.
Yeah, so anyone wants to connect further, check out the description and click on some links. But thank you for being here. This is awesome.
Oh, thank you very, very much.